movements that has deterred people from literally their family. Like if you really look at everything, like every movement that has ever happened, right? Most of them, majority of the time, was literally to break up the family,
Yeah.
right? Because once you break up the family, you're breaking up the dad and the mama, and that's the structure that all these kids need, right? So if you look at the condition of kids right now, if you really think about it,
Mhm.
average men and kids have no sympathy in this world. Damn near from like people, like people don't give a fuck about kids. They don't give a fuck about average men that keeps the world going.
Mhm.
So it's like I think there needs to be an education on the importance of men and the importance of children.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. There shouldn't be no reason why we're talking down upon each other. Realistically, we got to educate each other correctly on that matter, or what it means to be a man.
Hey,
Or as men, we
Faze,
should
let me
build
ask you a
ourselves
question.
up.
What do you think the patriarch has been oppressive to women? I can't hear you. Did you say
I don't hear him either if he's talking.
you probably muted?
What was the question, bro?
No, I said, do you think the patriarch has been oppressive to women?
Yeah.
In what ways?
Well, can we start with defining the patriarch?
Okay. The way what I believe it to be is patriarch is a system um that ran by men for the protection of women and children.
All right. And what patriarch are we talking about? We talking about America? We talking about society? Which one?
We talking about the society in America.
Oh yeah, it's been oppressive to women for sure.
Okay. Um, what how what's your definition for patriarch?
I'm going based off the one you just gave. It might have had the intention of, oh, we're going to have a government set in place to protect the women and the children and run the society how it needs to be ran and making sure that we're able to progress as a people. It's a type of government. It's a government that's masculine based
Right.
with intention and attention fixated on the father, the men.
Okay.
All right.
Um, right. So basically, so do we agree that patriarch is a system that's ran by men in general, right?
Yep.
Okay. Um, so let me ask you this then. Do you think the patriarch system has been okay, so you do think so if you think it's oppressive, has it helped women at all?
And the system itself has its ways of helping everybody. It's helped everybody, and so specifically, yes, it has helped women in a few ways. One being, women don't have to work as hard uh, to access food. They don't have to work as hard to make sure that they're sheltered. They don't have to work as hard to make sure that they have necessities, things that they need in life, because the system under that government of the patriarchy has prioritized making it be that men are the ones who go out and build the structures that they drive on, build the houses or homes that they live in, build the railroads in which the food travels into the country or it travels into the community, build the streets in which the trucks drive on or on which the trucks drive on to make sure that the food gets there, build the water systems and the power electricity systems. So yeah, there are a lot of ways, many ways that women have benefited from the patriarchy.
Right. Okay, so that okay, I I like what you said. So let me ask. My next question would be this then. So has the patriarch been? What percentage would you give the patriarch as far as positive or negative towards women? Like out of 100%. So would you do 50-50, 60-40, 70-30? Like what?
I would say 80-20.
So you think it benefit women 20%, but 80% has been oppressive to them, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Okay. Damn, that's all right. So let me ask you this then. Um, has the patriarch so do you think the 80-20 has it's always been 80-20 from the start, or has it become 80-20 throughout the years?
I think it began around 90-10, and over the years, it's become 80-20.
So you think it started off bad and
And yeah,
it
it started off worse, a lot worse than it is now. And
okay, so
because of a
let's
lot of the, go ahead.
so the next question will be then, um, do you think the matriarch would do better?
No,
Hmm, that's
no.
interesting.
I don't think the matriarch would do better. I think that the matriarch uh, needs some work as far as what they would be. And I think that what we think the matriarch should be, or as is, like when we talk about the matriarch, is still based off of a patriarchal mindset. So I think there would have to be something totally different than what we think the matriarch to be. The closest we can get to that conversation is we say matriarch, but in all actuality, we think of rulership of how we think of the patriarchy. We think of leadership of how we think of the patriarchy. The women are going to have to tell us what the matriarchy is. So whatever we think the matriarchy is now, the truth is we're 100% incorrect, and we're going to have to make space and provide space for the women to tell us what their leadership is, for the women to show us what their leadership is, what their idea of government is. Every other government that we've had up to this point has been based on the patriarchal mindset, caste system, sociological pyramid, all of that. So no, I don't think the matriarch would do any better than a woman would do when she rises up in corporate America. It has to put on a suit, still has to act the part of the male in the patriarchal system.
That was great. I like that was that was good. It's a great response. So my next question would be this then. So if let me say, okay, so do you think that women, because we see that when women get in a position of power, they act worse than men in most cases, right? And Do you think that's do you think that's because they taking on a male mindset, or are they just misusing their feminine energy?
I think men don't like to see women do what men do on a more powerful level. So when men cheat, they say this is what we're supposed to do. We're programmed to do that. It's in our genes. When a woman cheats, it's supposed to be the end of the world, Armageddon. When a woman raises up and she uses her power and then abuses her power, everybody says she's an angry woman. You know, she must be going through some type of trauma. Who raised her this way? But when a man does it, that's just a man's way of doing things. Therein lies the problem.
Okay, so then that would mean that do you have the mindset that you think that men and women are equal?
I don't know what the equal, what would be the parameters of what equal would be. So I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, cool. That's good. So you want context. Okay. So context with this, right? Do you think that men and women should have equal responsibility as far as gender roles go? So for instance, I'm gonna give you an example to give more context. So if the man is a protector and provider, should women be protectors and providers as well?
Yes.
Okay. Now, since a woman is supposed to be a housewife, cook and clean, should there also be house husbands?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when it comes to dying for their country, right? Say the thing should be equal for both genders. Now, let's just say I just asked you about the army. So if we have half women, like let's say 100%, 50% women, 50% men on the battlefield, Do you think our army would lose to an army 100% of men?
No,
And and why not?
because you know that your line of questioning is rooted in the science of the patriarchy, the belief system of the patriarchy, right? The experience of a man in patriarchy. We think man means strong. We think man means crafty. We think man means able to win a war.
No,
We
I ain't
got some.
say, I ain't say none of that. Why I'm just asking, I ain't say none of that. I ain't say that. I'm just asking.
I'm saying your line of question is based in it. I'm not saying you're saying it. I'm saying what your line of question is based in is that have men, have women have to go against an army of men and whether or not they'll lose, as opposed to have men, have women going against the army of women, whether or not they'll lose. You understand that? It's still rooted in the patriarchal sense of that would be the enemy to conquer, as opposed to an army of women. What about
Right. You
those
know why?
armies of women who go ahead?
But that's because what we see is that when there are opposing beliefs, usually the people that's gonna fight for their beliefs are men. Women fight in the women don't necessarily fight brutally like men. So when you see people rising up to actually fight, take out weapons and go to war, it's usually men, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
So that's why I said that, because it's mainly going to be men that's going to step, because if all things are equal and naturally, it's not women stepping up wanting to pick up a gun and go and fight in another country and be on the battlefield. That's why I actually, but I get what you're saying. You're not wrong about the line of questioning to a certain degree, but it's also because I know that most armies you go against. Because think about this: if all things are equal in America, like you said, as far as the army, 50% women, 50% men on the battlefield, that's not going to be the same with another country, right? So that's why I said with an army of men, because most likely, if another country know that our army is 50% women on the battlefield, they're definitely not sending women in, because they're gonna think the same way what you just said. They're gonna think from a patriarchal mindset, and
Right.
they wouldn't necessarily be wrong. So my question would be, so um, do you think that our army of 50% women would be 100% men in war against another country?
I don't know if they will. What I know is it will be a matter of we have to think about what type of combat we're speaking of, right? Realistically speaking, there may be a higher percentage of men who will be able to overpower women when it comes to combat, right? You know, fist to fist combat, hand to hand combat. But if we're speaking in terms of weaponry, craftiness, uh, the ability to operate technology and things like that, that playing field can not only be evened out, it may also stand a chance that the women will be more equipped to handle certain weaponry and handle certain situations, scenarios that the men wouldn't be able to handle or triumph in. So it also depends on what type of combat we're speaking about. Hand to hand, no weapons, there's a high chance that the men will triumph. When it comes to using guns, weaponry, grenades, and things like that, I think the women will be, if not as capable, potentially more capable than the men would be when it comes to being in shape enough to handle those weapons and, you know, execute whatever would need to be executed to win the war.
Well, okay, I'll give you. I'll give you what I think about it. I think that will be some women that can handle that, but based on how women actually are in this society, because if we were to take 50% of women in this modern society and put them in war, now we have to add a lot of context as far as, because you're right, they could. I always say that if you have a brain, you are capable of doing anything somebody else can do. Period. Right? Because you have the capacity to learn how to do anything. Um, but at the same time, we also will have to take into account the way the modern woman thinks in this society. I don't even think they will even want to sign up. Right? Like I think naturally they don't want to go to war, right? They don't naturally want to do that. I don't even think they have the capacity to go through that training rigorously. 50% of women, I feel like some would. It's definitely not um 100% that ain't gonna want to do it. You're gonna have a percentage that wants to do it. But I think that if our army had to bank on 50% of women joining the army, we will lose because that will not there will not be 50% of women that wants to join. Because I don't even think 50% of women want to fight in general.
There are a lot of men that don't want to fight in general. When they start speaking about the draft, a lot of niggas actually started thinking about how they were going to escape that. A lot of men don't want to fight. Here's what I think. I'll level with you. I think that there's a possibility, depending on what type of war we're speaking about, that the men can triumph over the women. However, I think, again, we're thinking from a patriarchal mindset. We haven't seen it where in this society the women were prioritized in training, prioritized in prep and conditioning, prioritizing resources. We haven't seen it. We don't know what they can do. We don't know what they're capable of, because anytime they get into a position to be able to be capable of any of the things they would be naturally capable of in their supremacy, they still have to fall up under the parameters and restraints and constraints of the patriarchal system. We don't know what they can do. So there's no telling what a million Mulan times 10,000 would be able to do. We only seen certain examples of what a powerful woman is able to be, and she has to fight a lot harder to be able to show that she is in that type of seat or position of power. So what I say is we're still looking at it from the lens of the patriarchy, which is why I say I don't really know what the parameters of equality would be unless we're still speaking in terms of what the patriarchy says equality is. So why would she want to be equal to a man? It's the same conversation of why would melanin dominant people want to fight for equality with melanin recessive people, or why would black people want to fight for equality with white people, when in all actuality there's a potential for those black people for being able to be more powerful in certain senses. And it may be the other way around for other senses. Those Caucasians can be more powerful than black. So in this scenario, what I'm saying is there's a possibility that the equality standard isn't actually the man. It could be the women. The patriarchy could just be subduing that reality.
Okay, that that's true because, like you said, we haven't seen it, so we don't know if it'll work or not. But I would say this: um, absent of patriarch, because okay, the system may be patriarch, but on a day-to-day basis, as far as the average living goes, I don't think that the patriarch is really affecting um women the way it's affecting men. And what I mean by that is this: the average woman in this society is not necessarily bound by the patriarch. Why? Because she can do whatever she wants to do. I don't see no restraints on women in this society. Hence the major thing that they really have been fighting for, which is sexual freedom. They got the most sexual freedom as they have ever had, right? And when you see them um having this sexual freedom and how they're utilizing it, is actually because we see that women are the gatekeepers to sex, right? And why sex is important, because that is how we procreate ourselves, right? So sex is a sacred thing. And through sex between men and women is how we produce the future. Now, given that women have had this sexual freedom in the past 50 some years since feminism started, right? Because that's really what feminism was one of the main key points, is sexual freedom. So women are in charge of sex because they are the gatekeepers. So they have been misusing that gatekeeping because that's their power. Sex is a woman's power, her womb. And if they are in a society where the patriarch ain't stopping their sexual freedom, right? So they're able to use that sexual freedom however they see fit, and they're using it. But guess what? It has been doing us a disservice. Why? Because they are giving men babies that are not qualified to be fathers, turning around saying he's a deadbeat, but you are the one choosing this guy to be your children's father. And then you turn around and say you don't need a man. So invertly, you are saying that your child doesn't need a father if you saying you don't need a man.
It also says a lot to the patriarchal. Community. The communities that exist within the patriarchy are in no position to help raise the child, in so much as is not a situation of just having to call somebody a deadbeat and then the child still is at a disservice. Is when that father doesn't show that he's able to take care of or provide for the child. It's the community's responsibility to step in and help aid and assist that mother. But the
Yes.
patriarchy doesn't think that
Yes.
way.
All of that.
You see,
I
the
agree.
patriarchy
Hmm.
thinks, oh, it's the mother's fault. She shouldn't have opened her legs. The patriarchy thinks, even though the father's a deadbeat, it's still the mother's fault that the father's a deadbeat, not taking into consideration that the father may not have presented himself as a deadbeat. The father may not have presented himself as somebody who will run off in times of pressure. And we know that it might be a nigga that's standing there with his chest out, playing and capping like he ready for war. But when the time comes and the pressure actually get on the nigga, he gonna run and leave the niggas in war. You see what I'm saying? So it ain't even just sexual that a lot of people are cowards. It ain't even just parenthood that a lot of people are cowards. And it's not always that the woman is able to detect consciously what the man is and what he would do in certain situations. So when he becomes that deadbeat and she says that, why not the responsibility be pushed on the community to make sure that that child is still provided for? Because the patriarch doesn't think that way. The patriarch thinks individual.
Right. And if I can speak on it, I like what both of y'all said, what Ethereal
I'm gonna
said and
respond to
what you
that
said.
after. I'm gonna respond to that after you go.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying, Ethereal, as far as like, the sexuality and all that stuff. Me personally, honestly, I think there's too much emphasis on the sex. Like people put in that like that's the most important shit out here. Like it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like fucking and all that shit is not the most important thing in the world. And people so worried about, who fucking who and this and that, and really they should be worried about stuff that is actually important. You get what I'm saying? And what you were saying, Ethereal, about as far as like the kids being the future, I agree. The kids are the future, and it starts with the kids. So we need to start cultivating and nurturing the kids so that we can change the future. We might not be able to change how things are currently, but we can grow the children so that stuff doesn't continue to be the way that it is, and we can teach them. And so that's why I do get upset when you be up here like fuck them kids and talking about leftover families and all that shit ethereal. Cause it shouldn't be like that. Now, you as a single man with no children, do you have the choice to not take on a single mother or somebody else's children? Yes, you absolutely do. And I would never fault you for not wanting to do anything like that. You know what I'm saying? It's not for everybody, but it's not them children's fault. And whether the father is there or not, everybody needs to come together to fix this shit. You get what I'm saying? Even if you,
But
even
hold
if
up,
you're
but
just a
look,
mentor,
wait, hold up,
ethereal.
hold up, hold up, hold up,
Hey,
because
Ethereal, you notice nobody else got cut off.
And I just got one more thing to say, as far as what you were saying, as far as about like the women going to war and being leaders and all that shit. Hell nah, they don't want to do that shit. They don't want to do that shit. But unfortunately, the way times are now, they've been put in a position that they have to fight and lead and stand on their shit. The women are the protectors of the children. And if the fathers are not there, it's the woman's responsibility to protect the child. Yes, they may have made the wrong decisions, but you got to give them the space and the room to redeem themselves. You get what I'm saying? And even if you don't want to be a stepdaddy or whatever the case is, Ethereal, that's fine. But there still should be somebody that's willing to at least mentor the child and try to guide them on the right path and make sure that these kids aren't making the same mistakes that we're making. Because otherwise, we letting them fall through the cracks, and then the cycle just gonna repeat.
okay, this my pushback to that. I think um the gender that has left a role, right, as far as society go, let's just say absent of the patriarch or the matriarch, regardless of whatever system is in place, men and women have a duty, right? And duty is something that you have to do whether you want to or not. That's
Correct.
the point of having duties, right?
Mm-hmm.
Duties don't care about how you feel. So the duty of a woman, right? Women are the cultural givers and the cultural teachers. Women are a nation in themselves. Why? Because all nations come through the womb of the woman. Now, if that woman is misusing her body and giving her body to men that don't deserve it, and the result of that, is her having kids, right? That's not the man's fault,
I
right? Because
agree.
wait, hold
No
up.
one,
Because
listen, no one's disagreeing with you on that,
Hold
Ethereal.
on,
I'm
let
not
him finish.
disagreeing
Let him
with you.
finish.
No, go ahead, go ahead. I'm saying I'm not in disagreement with that.
y'all, okay, y'all saying I'm not put. See, it's so funny to me how when you hold a woman responsible for her duty, I didn't say women are responsible for everything. I'm talking about specifically what a woman has. Everybody's responsible for their biology to a certain degree, right? But the woman has the last say so whether the kid lives or dies. If a man gets a woman pregnant and he don't want it, that woman can make him a father where he wants to be or not. Now, people could say he shouldn't have sex with him, put himself in that position in the first place. That's very true. But at the end of the day, the woman has the last say so and the first say so. She has the first and the last, right? So what that means is that um, a lot of these kids out here who's growing up in single mother households wish they had a father. Whose responsibility is it to pick the correct father for the kids? It's the mother. Why? Because she's the one that gets pregnant. See, men are the pursuers, women are the gatekeepers. So what that means is that the men knock on the woman's door, and it's up to the woman to whether she's going to let him in or not. Now, if she's letting men in, right, that doesn't want to marry her, that hasn't proved that he actually cares. Because we can't say women got this great intuition, but you can't see that this nigga ain't shit. I'm not trying to hear that. You know this nigga ain't shit, but you still fucked him. Because guess what? So, to be honest, I think the patriarch need to step it up because women are not being held to any standards in society nowadays. They have no responsibilities. They running out here wild. They're giving the kids to these little pookies. These kids, our kids reading at a like our community is reading at the lowest level, right? Fourth grade levels as adults. These kids are less efficient in almost everything. And it's because we are allowing our women to have babies with 20% of the men and then blaming all the men for it. Because all men ain't doing this shit that 20% of men are doing. All the you don't need 100% of men to have kids in order for a community to be populated. So women have a position of power. They say pussy is power. Women definitely they using it, but they using it the wrong way. So we can't say that women not in a position of power because even if we are living in the matriarch been running shit. Because why? The mothers taking care of all the kids, they raising all these most of the adults out here, right? The court system is in a woman's favor. It's believe all women. If a woman say you hit her, you going to jail, whether you did it or not. So women have a lot of power in this society, even if it is a patriarch. So we have to educate women on how to vet men properly. And also, we got to stop making excuses for these women who's misusing their body and giving babies to men that should not be fathers in the first place.
I agree. Everything you said was facts. I do agree with you. But we have to also factor in all the other things. You get what I'm saying? I understand that yes, women are making the bad decisions. They are choosing these men and having children with these men. Yes. But you said it yourself. These kids is coming from fatherless homes. So these single mothers are also coming from fatherless homes. And you got to understand if they ain't had nobody there to teach them, they don't know better. You don't know better until you are taught. And a lot of these women end up learning through failure, going out here doing the wrong shit, making the wrong decisions. And that's why they then learn from their mistakes. But then, like you said, the kids is here. It's already too late. So now the woman is trying to backtrack and make up for all the shit that she fucked up. Yes, me, I am a single mother. I have 4 children. I had 5, I lost a son. I have 2 full-time jobs and 4 kids. And yes, I work a lot, but I'm gonna make sure they have a roof over their head. And yes, I made the wrong decision, but I worked twice as hard to make it up and make sure that these kids have and make sure that they do know the right way and make sure they see the mistakes that I made and I tell them, hey, this is the mistake. This is not what you are supposed to do. And I have to take on both roles. Yes, I do. But you have to give them the space to redeem themselves. Because it's a lot of women out here working hard to take care of kids by themselves, Ethereal. And yes, it's their decision, and yes, it's their fault. But you gotta let them come back from that shit. You cannot
Yeah,
continue to
and I
hold that
wanna
shit over their head forever.
I wanna say something else. I kind of want to just put it all together, like just how you're talking about the patriarchy, and we can clearly see, what I'm saying, it's not set up for us. You know what I'm saying? Even if we can sit here and be like, okay, it's working for women, this whole entire thing, it's not built for us to remember who we are. You know what I'm saying? It's not here for us to really tune into where we once was and where we're going. So it's like even when we speak upon these things, we have to realize like, okay, they've always wanted to attack the Aboriginal man and woman. Like no matter if they try to turn us against each other, whatever things that they obstacles they placed in front of us was to just keep us separate and away from each other. And the thing is, we have to be aware of that. You know what I'm saying? Both men and women have to be aware of that and know how to move accordingly. You know what I'm saying? That's the overall thing message, because I think overall it's a message, it's a transmission coming from source. And you as an individual have to tune into that message through yourself. You know what I'm saying? If you can do that through yourself, you know what I'm saying, then you can not only impact others around you, you can inspire the world. You know what I'm saying? You can go out here and inspire the collective. And I think, like I said, that's the message that we got to be putting on these platforms. You feel me? Is that outside of you, you know what I'm saying, there's a world out there that doesn't want you to know or figure out. And they want to keep me, you separate from each other because they know once we're together what we can truly, truly do. You know what I'm saying? So let's, as individuals, remind each other of that power and that responsibility that men and women have so we can push forward this ascension.
And if I could just say one thing about this comment in the comments, they said giving women public housing and saying a man can't be there. Listen, I'm a single mother. I have 4 kids. I don't qualify for public housing. See, people seem to assume because you have children and there's no father in the household, they just giving you shit. Well, let me tell you, sweetheart, it does not work like that. You don't just drop babies and be like, okay, let me get the house. Doesn't work like that. I work all the goddamn time to provide for my kids. I pay full rent. I don't qualify for housing. Do I get food stamps? Yes, I do. Do I need them? Yes, I do. Do we get Medicaid? Yes, we do. We get food and we get Medicaid, and I work every goddamn day to make sure these kids have somewhere to stay. So that's really a misconception that everybody just thinks like just because you listen, everybody is in need. Everybody needs a home. Everybody needs food. Everybody needs housing, but it's not enough for everybody. The demand is far too great for them to be able to provide for every fucking body.
But see,
And
my okay, Phase, you got something to say about what's been
About
said
what
so
I'm hearing
far?
right now. You said about what I'm hearing right now.
Yeah.
Well, for one, I think it's very important for the men and the women to listen to one another, which is why I sit up there and say, yo, Ethereal, you realize nobody else got cut off. All right. Most of the time, men don't want to hear what women are saying, right? We have to change that in order to start moving forward, talking about a matriarch conversation. And either one of us will be the leaders in that. If it's going to be a matriarchy, we wouldn't be the prime beings. It would be the women. If it's going to be a matriarchy, what they would say would go, and we would have to understand how to move with that. Keep
And
in
that's
mind. Go ahead.
and I'm like getting to the point like I'm really starting to think like that's universal law. Like that's just the natural orders and way of things. You know what I'm saying? And it's up to you as a man to tune into that frequency, like tune into that energy through yourself and really understand it and overstand it. Because once you kind of understand and overstand that, you as an individual will know how to move correctly in that. I think that's what really matters at the end of the day.
Something else that stood out to me was that the sister said there's too much focus on sex, right? And Ether, you spoke about the sexual revolutions and that being the women's power, the womb.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, again, we underestimate them. If we think their power is the womb, we underestimate them. If we think their power
Mm-hmm.
is one aspect of their being, we
Mm-hmm.
underestimate these beings. And I think the reason why we underestimate them is because we've been operating in patriarchal societies where the attention was fixated on the men for so long, right? And I could see why, if there was a situation where we needed to build a thing, like if we're building a home and the men get together and they don't want to put the grunt work responsibility on the women. And how long are we going to
Mm-hmm.
keep building this home? Until we start decorating it, until we start putting food in it, until we start raising babies in it, until we start making it livable. You know what I'm saying? And we
Mm-hmm.
don't want to move over and let that move through. It's time for things to be made livable. Okay, these conditions, how she's saying, is too much of a demand for something. It shouldn't be that way, and it isn't that way. As a matter of fact, there's an illusion that makes it seem that way because of the competition that the patriarchy demands. There's an illusion of scarcity. There's no real scarcity. There's an illusion of
I
the
agree
earth
with
being
that.
overpopulated. You can't overpopulate the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Human beings don't live long enough to overpopulate earth. All right. Now, when it comes to their societies and the buildings that they put in there and the businesses that they got people competing to be a part of, right, then the competition will make it seem as though there's a scarce way of life. It's not.
Is it just me or his sound cut out? Oh, he's spinning.
Nah, you
Okay.
cut out.
Yeah, it cut off. The main point was the conversations open up for the slate of the matriarchy to be cleaned, for it to rise up without any interruptions. It's not just on the women of quote unquote opening her legs and sleeping with someone who wasn't qualified or whatever we think a qualified father should be. Let's also look at the choices she had to choose from and the fact that she still has a nature to want to reproduce. And she's in a society of men that ain't shit. Niggas don't want to say niggas ain't shit. Niggas don't want to say niggas tend to not be shit in certain areas of the world. Niggas don't want to say niggas tend to not be shit in certain areas of their city. So she didn't have many options to choose from being raised up in a community of people
I
who wasn't
disagree with
shit.
that.
You know,
Oh
or you would
no,
have to,
no,
but well, let me finish what I'm saying. Then I'll
no, no.
provide
Go
space
ahead.
for
You
that.
got it. You got it.
The thing
And I'm gonna
is, if
go
I,
after
I
both
came
of
up in the
y'all.
hood, so most of the niggas I grew up around wasn't shit. You want to know why? Because the daddies wasn't shit. You understand? And the daddies was teaching us not to be shit. What do you mean by that? Use a woman for sex, right?
Mm.
Even coerce her into having sex. So let's not mention the fact that a lot of these women were coerced into having babies. They didn't even want to have no babies. Let's not mention the fact that a lot of the women didn't consent to being pregnant. A lot of niggas were ejaculated in women and then ask them, is this what you want? Then ask them and have a conversation with them and ask, is this what you see in your future having a baby? You see what I'm explaining to you? So, and people don't have conversations about that. And what do you call that? And people don't want to talk about what that's called. So again, I was brought up around a lot of those men and the people in our communities, the brothers, the men in our communities weren't real quote unquote men in that regard with consideration for the women. It was all about self and what the gratification would be as a man and how the man's supposed to lead. And when men talk, women be quiet, da da da. It was that. It wasn't nothing about leaving or opening up those gates for her to be protected and feel safe in order for her to thrive and giving her better examples and choices to choose from when it came to the men. Hey, I'm gonna jump back out because it's froze on me. I'm gonna come right back in.
All right.
Yeah, I got stuff to
Damn.
say too after.
Fuck my neck. Shit. I got a crook, bro. Um, I'm wait till you get back because I got a lot of pushback for that. I truly think that like I truly think that we make too many excuses for women in this society, and this is why they continue to make horrible mating decisions. Um, for one, one thing. The empowerment of women has never been for the benefit of kids. Let me say that again. The empowerment of women have never been. If you look at any women empowerment movements, it has never been advocating for kids. It has always been built on selfishness of what they want. I. So when we talk about this individualism, it's mainly coming from women because when you look at how men, for instance, let's take dating for example. When most of the time men gain resources to give to their woman, you cannot tell me no man that has access, right, to money, resources, food, shelter, and clothing that they don't want to give to a woman. Most men, most average men want to give what they have to a woman. On the other hand, women do not want to give what they have to men. It don't work like that, right? Because that's not how they set up. Now, when Faze just said they don't got no good men to choose from. That's a lie. Most of these women um reject the men that they supposed to marry. See, women are born with intrinsic value. They're born with a value. Women have from the age of 18, sometimes damn near younger than that. These women have access to every man. Every single man on the market. The good ones, the bad ones, the trash ones, the excellent ones. But they don't ever choose the good ones. We can't say that most men are bad, right? We can't not say that when the women are doing the choosing. The man comes up to the woman, right? And then when you also take into the fact that these women, right, they have a type. For instance, if you ask the average woman in America what's her type, it's gonna be 6'3". It's gonna be a man that's in the top 10% of looks, money, penis, all type of shit, right? They never gonna describe an average guy. Why? They will never describe an average guy as being a dream guy, which means they do not respect the average male in society in their average. So think about this. If the average black woman does not see the average black man as suitable, right? What are those average guys gonna do? Nothing. And that's why society is breaking down because these women they would rather have babies with a guy that's hood or got edge or he's tough he's this or he that because when we look at see what we can't ignore is the results that we see, right? Look at our communities. Look at these women. Look who they're producing with. It ain't that they don't got the option to choose a good guy. They're not choosing a good guy, even if the good guy's in his face, because he corny, he lame, he a nerd, he not tough enough, he not hood enough. We see this all the time. Matter of fact, look at the Pop the Balloon show. It's showing like we got it's so many cases, it's so many examples out here that show y'all that women are terrible at choosing men. They have a good guy in their face and literally ignore him.
Right.
So we can't.
So can I
Oh,
step
go
in?
ahead. My bad. I ain't gonna keep going. Go ahead.
No, you good. You made good points. So what I could say from my observation, for one, I didn't say they don't have good options. I said look at the options they have to choose from in their respective areas. Let's talk about that idea of the hood nigga. Let's talk about that idea of the street dude. Let's talk about that idea of the nigga who got money. Let's talk about the nature of human beings and why women choose certain ways. They don't want no weak nigga. They don't want no nigga who, if they out and about and they get checked and challenged, they feel like that nigga gonna cower out. So a lot of the times, the image of the nigga with tattoos in the face, gun on the hip, muscular, take top, he ain't gonna take no shit. So that's a natural thing. That's the challenge on the women to have to look beyond their primitive nature of thinking that they got to choose the most gorilla looking being to be protected. That's them. So when you start speaking of intrinsic value, they will have to activate more of their senses of deciding what it actually means to succeed in this type of animal kingdom and that type of animal kingdom. Now, for them, again, the image of what it means to be a strong man and a real nigga, okay? They just replaced the word man with nigga. A real man or a real nigga is what they were seeing. So when they saw or encountered those types of men or those types of people or boys, they thought, okay, this is the one that's going to protect me. This is the one who's going to spend money on me. Why spending money is important? Spending money is important because status is important to women. Okay, who they are in society is important.
Yeah.
Whether or not they are associated with the strongest gorilla in the kingdom is important because that makes less competition for her and less challenge for her. Okay, sometimes, even still, they have to put their mind to the fact that if they are pursuing this one strong, powerful, rich gorilla, then guess what? So are the other gorillaettes. And that's why they oftentimes end up fighting for over the man. They'll even literally say sometimes, I hope you're ready to die behind that penis. You see what I'm saying? So that's my thing. What I'm saying to you is you're making good points. I'm not woman side, man side. I'm realistic truth side. And the women do
Right.
have a lot of
Yeah, and I
responsibility.
kind of
Let me just
Well, no,
land this
let
point,
him
right?
let him land. Let him land. You go
Let me
right
land
after
this
him,
point, right?
and then the young then
From being a leader, right? I'm gonna point this out and then I'm gonna end it or land my point. From being a leader, okay? I don't know how many of y'all own businesses and things like that. But when you're a business owner or when you're a leader on a team, it doesn't matter what you think or how you feel, how your employees or members or staff is functioning and performing always ends up on whose plate? Yours. It's your responsibility. If your team isn't doing well, your team ain't in shape, it's your responsibility. They're a reflection of you. Okay, so if men want to claim that we've been the leaders for thus long, okay, well then when we're looking at the women and how they're performing and what their decision making is, and they're supposed to be in a society in which we lead, all right, then they're a reflection of our leadership. We have to still take responsibility.
nah, Phase,
I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Again, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of leadership. And I will say that the women performing a certain way will still ultimately be on the leadership of the men. Because what do our communities look like? Are our girls hopping in 13, 14 years old, hopping in the car of some dude that's 40, 50 years old, driving through our community and niggas ain't say nothing? Where the women running around, walking around, little girls with the clothes tight, the clothes all over, and nobody was saying nothing? Do we know homeboys of ours who done did this, that, and the third to a woman, and we let him slide by, and he ain't wearing no black eye, or he ain't exiled out of the community? Did we really have our communities under control? I don't want to go too deep into it because we'll be here for
nah.
another
That
5 hours.
okay, but
There's
that's a
one more
good
point I
that.
was landing. That's why I said I didn't want to go deep into that. There's one more point I was landing, right? But it's ultimately going to be the same thing, okay? When it comes to the sisters, from being in leadership positions, like myself, I've been in a lot of leadership positions. When we finally hand y'all the driver's wheel, when we finally hand y'all the keys, when we finally say, okay, I tell the brothers step back, we're gonna let y'all run this. All right. I do organization movements, whatever it is. The 3 houses that we had on the groups that we was operating in, the women were over it. The only problems we've had in our communities that I've been working with, the only issues we've had has been with women. Y'all don't want to stop competing with one another. Y'all don't want to communicate with one another. Y'all jealous of one another. You want what somebody else has. You don't want to say it. You want that you'll be in a relationship, but you want their relationship. You understand? And you already got what you need to move forward, but you don't want to say that you want theirs, so you wear it. Women don't have to overstand it, from my observation, that y'all wear y'all emotions a lot more than you think. If you're jealous, it's going to burn a hole in your clothes. If you're envious, it's going to burn a hole in your clothes. You understand? If you're trying to compete and challenge other women and you don't want to say, it's going to burn a hole in your clothes and you're wearing it. So my thing is, regardless of whatever the responsibility of who, when you start speaking about matriarchy, y'all women have to admit that y'all don't like each other. Y'all compete with one another, and it's because of the animalistic side of yourselves. If you really want to start changing it and seeing this government of yours, the matriarch fantasy that everybody talks about and don't really want to see it come into fruition, if you really want it to happen, you can't be us, and you can't be how you've been up under us.
But let me wait. I gotta address a couple points. I love
Go ahead.
I love how you landed the plane. But but takeoff was a little shaky, bro. It was a little turbulent. And the reason, I only got a couple pushbacks. I agree with 90% of what you said. But my couple of my pushbacks is this. Is that these women, right? Women in this society, we may live in a patriarch, but women are running everything. For one, women have been in control of the household since the 1960s, right? That's over 50 years, right? So women have been in, so let's say, for instance, right? The YNs that we see out here, they are a product of a single mother household. 70% of our kids are growing up in a single mother household. That produces the worst statistics. If you want to damage a child, all you got to do is throw them in a single mother household. And matter of fact, 7 times out of 10, it's going to be a detriment to that child. That's not by coincidence, and it's not a setup. See, my problem is this: it's accountability. We keep blaming everything else but ourselves for the problems that we create in ourselves. We are our own worst enemies, but yet we keep blaming the white man, the system, the government. Oh no, um people are not, we're not family oriented, and especially our women. If our women are the produces the future, they state of mind matters more than the male state of mind. Why? Because all those women can produce with that one guy that got the right state of mind, right? It don't every man in the society does 100% of men do not have to be benevolent in order to produce a benevolent system or a benevolent community, because women don't need all men to have kids with. They only need a few. They don't need all of them. We don't need all men to have kids. This is why it's the numbers are one sided, because all the kids are being produced by 20% of the men. Phase, I know you know this. You go to any community, it's only a couple of guys that's fucking all the women. The lames don't get none. And just because a guy's lame don't mean he can't fight. It don't mean that he and that's another misconception. The dudes, like you said, the gorillas, they want the
I got
gorillas.
some pushback for you,
Well,
Ethereum, when
look,
you
look,
done. Go ahead.
they want the gorillas, but these gorillas end up in jail. What they say, the street life don't take you number two places, jail or death. But women are still choosing them. They see what's happening in their community. They got firsthand because they with these dudes. They know the lifestyle these guys living. We don't need to keep repeating each generation our women making the same mistake the last generation made. Now, if we want to stay in the 1960s, the first time this shit happened to us, it wasn't our fault. Cool. But after you see the first generation's mistake, and we keep making it generation that, nah, and people keep saying, "Oh, it's the system. They set it up this way." I'm not trying to hear that, cause women put on their big girl pants and they go to work and they know how to shut their emotions down. They know how to go to work and listen, because we can say that the women don't ain't got no guys to choose from, but anytime you try to tell a woman in society the type of men that they should be choosing, they tell you mind your business. They don't listen. And then another pushback I got is that we saying that men are leaders. Who said that? You got a couple men talking about men are leaders. You're not a leader unless you have followers. Faze, if you want to say you a leader, you can actually say that because you have followers. You have people that actually follow you. You think the average guy that you meet on the street is a leader? Who says that? And that's another thing too. Men are not leaders. Women are not leaders. You're only a leader if you can't be a leader unless you have followers. So men, the average guy on the street is not responsible for the average woman decisions to have a baby with a lip pookie. She's not under no man leadership, especially if she don't listen. So if women are, you can't be a leader unless people listen to you, bro. Let's take Jesus for example. You know, whether people agree or not, let's just take the story. Jesus wasn't a Messiah unless he had followers. You can't be nothing. You can't be a leader without followers. So, in order for men to be leaders, women will have to listen because people listening to you it's what gives you the title of being a leader. If our women in this society is hard headed, sexual liberated, don't give a you can't tell them to take off their nails. You can't tell them take them wigs off their head, them hair heads. You can't tell them take that little ass dress off. You can't tell them stop twerking on Instagram. You can't tell them nothing. So how are men the leaders if the women don't listen to men?
Okay. Well, can I speak here? And then I'm gonna
Yep,
go
you
ahead.
and
Hey,
then
look,
get
again.
Llama in. After you, I ain't gonna respond to after left face go. I'm not gonna respond. Let Llama go and then you son this, and then I'm
Well,
gonna
I
bring
want to
a
say
couple
this.
people up that want to come up.
This was a great conversation. Either way it goes, I gotta get up out of here in a second. But either way it goes, it's a great conversation. I don't disagree with your points. I think two truths can be neighbors, and I stand by the men do have a certain amount of leadership responsibility in the patriarchal society. Now, as far as the individualized decisions of each woman and how they make their decisions in certain communities, and it's not all the same in every community, even though there's a general aspect to it. I still say that the men have certain types of responsibilities when it comes to their leadership. Now, everything else you said, as far as whether or not the women want to listen, I've observed that. Yeah, if they go to work, they're gonna talk to the white man with a whole bunch of respect. They're gonna bow to the white man, they're gonna shake his hand, they're gonna smile in his face. But when they talk to the man who provides for them, who loves them, who makes sure that they're okay, who will protect and lay their life down, is disrespect. Now, what I do, what's happening around me, is I do my best to reinforce the respect for the man and the woman, teaching them both how to respect each other. One of the best respects that we can offer to a woman is to listen to her. Now, we would say, oh, she don't listen to us. She doesn't have to, quote unquote, listen to us. It's our responsibility to pick the women who will, right? And it's our responsibility to be able to be listened to, because sometimes we ain't saying shit, sometimes we ain't doing shit. We want her to listen to us that we kings, and she ain't seeing we kings. We want her to listen to us that we the guys of the planet and we run this and we that, but we don't have the resources. She's seeing who got the resources. A lot of this, just to make sure we land the plane, a lot of this is primitive nature. You really need to research what the animal kingdom is. Look at our neighbors that share this kingdom with us and start realizing that we're not much different than the animals. We have a little more sophistication because of our frontal lobe activation in development and that evolutionary process. We have a little more sophistication because of the way we can move and our fingers and all of that, but we're not much different than animals. So when we start speaking about the patriarchy and matriarchy, whatever it is, if it's going to work how the animal kingdoms work, and if the women are going to lead with the essence that they carry now, it don't matter. That's why I'm gonna land with this. I told the sisters that from the beginning. We move out the way and we let y'all lead, and y'all don't want to work with one another. Y'all don't want to love each other. Then we might as well let the men do it. This was something that was spoken of recently by my aunt to me, where Malachi was saying he got out the way, he gave it to the sisters. He said, "You run this, you run this, you run," and it went to shit. And he said he had to take it back from the sisters and put it back in the hands of the men because the sisters weren't ready to lead. So here go the sisters, right? Here go y'all word. Accountability, right? The men think they have it, they don't really have it, and it's easier for us to deflect and say y'all don't have it. Let me tell you this. What I can see from just being around the women, y'all can lead. And when y'all are in charge of things go right when y'all mind is right. But if y'all think y'all gonna lead with how y'all lead things now and how y'all do things now, I'm telling you this, as someone who's an advocate for the matriarchy and advocate for the women being in their seat, nah, y'all need to step back and let the men keep doing what they're doing. And the men with sense will get this in order. And I never talked like this until I got in position to actually be around the women and seeing how they move and seeing how women lead. And I never talked like this before. I have changed my position from the men need to move out of the way and let y'all lead to the men will only move out of the way and let y'all lead. The men with sense will only move out of the way and let y'all lead if women with sense will step up. If women with sense don't step up and get it together and it continues to be chaos, I ain't gonna talk about no matriarchy. We're gonna get what needs to be done and all that. Whether or not men need to be in position and powerful people need to be in position. No, people with sense need to have leadership roles. Simple.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. I actually don't have no objections, but the one thing I would say is this. Then Lama, you can go. Um, He's very correct when you say men with sense will step out of the way. You know why? Every man in a right mind surrenders to femininity. Period. Point blank. Like, and also another thing I agree with what he said. He said choosing right. See me, I vet women properly. My girl don't act shit like the women in this society, and that's why I chose her because we do also it's also a man responsibility to choose the right women as well. But that's another thing about that's why we have to understand the picking and choosing aspect. The average guy on the street that you see don't have the option of choosing what woman he wants. He can't just go up to the woman he wants and say, "I want you," because what you want have to want you back. If what you want don't want you back, you can't get it. So yeah, I agree with I agree with everything he said, but we definitely women definitely have to understand that most men in their right mind definitely surrenders to femininity, and if women were since stepped up, men would not mind women handling things because for one, women talk. Honestly, women communicate better than men in most cases. Look at society. A lot of men are socially retarded. They don't know how to. They don't. They don't know. No, seriously, bro. A lot of men are socially awkward and retarded. They don't know how to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Look, think about it. Most men don't have game. They don't know how to come up to a woman and have a regular conversation without her feeling awkward at some point. I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. I see it all the time. Like some men, and that's why they use like buying her a drink or buying her thing. Men, men have used buying women things to get over the fact they don't know how to talk to her.
I agree. You ready for me, Ethereal?
Yeah, I'm ready for you.
You ready to come to the front of the class? You know, since you want to let's talk about these little pookies and these numbers you like to always talk about, these statistics, right? So let's get these numbers in line. You need a piece of paper, or you got it? It's simple numbers. You don't need a paper. Do it off the dome. So, according to you and your statistic, is that only 20% of the men is creating the children, and that would make what 70 or 80% of the women single mothers. So if we do that math, then that means 80% of the men are good men, but 80% of the women are single mothers. And y'all don't want them and they leftover kids. And they whores and all this and they pussy got mileage and all this and that. So then that leaves the pool that you got to choose from at 20%, sir. So y'all seem to think that, oh, y'all gonna get some some limited edition off the line ass bitch. You know what I'm saying? And y'all don't wanna work and help to build things that have been damaged, but it's necessary. You just so quick to discard some shit and write it off. So then if 20% of the little pookies having all the babies and 80%, 70%, whichever figure you choose to use at the time, Ethereal, are single mothers, then what does that leave the whole majority of these good men to choose from?
Hey, wait, hold up one second. Hey, destined to change too. Do you want to come up? Let me know. Um, Go ahead. Soul Bay, what's up?
Yo, yo, I just wanted to clarify because I hear y'all saying we live in a patriarchy, but if we go back deep into the people who started the structures of the fucked upness we living in, women send out those